All right, y'all. I got some really good news for y'all. Static is back. And not only is he back, he's back with the force. Let's talk. What's going on, fam? It's your boy, the Black Mastadonte. So for those of you who may not know, Static Shock will forever be my shit. He was the first superhero I saw in cartoons that looked like me. Therefore, when I dreamt about being like him, it wasn't so far-fetched because he was a black character, just like me, and I vibe with him because he was nerdy, he was sarcastic, he was mad funny. Like, I loved Static just as a character. But I know a few of you may not even know who Static Shock is. You may not know the greatness of my boy Virgil Hawkins. However, don't worry, your boy is here, and I'm here to tell you a brief history on Static before we get into all the new stuff that's happening about him. That's super dope. So the character Virgil Hawkins was made by Milestone Comics. Originally, Milestone had a deal with DC where Milestone would create the characters, create the comics, and they would own all the rights to all the characters that they created, while DC distributed their comics and stuff. By the way, if you want a more thorough history about Static Shock and Milestone Comics, I would definitely check out Comic Drake. They did a really good video just about the history of Static Shock and Milestone Comics. So if you want to get something more thorough, check out their video. It's really cool. It's where I got a lot of my facts from. So originally Static was part of the Dakotaverse, Milestone Comics universe. He had a comic called Static that ran for a little while. However, after a time, Milestone Comics just could not continue making money off of their comics. They just weren't making enough money to support all the stories they were creating, so they had to get shut down. However, later, Static returned as a cartoon on Kids WB. Now, unfortunately, I never read the Static comics, so I can't give a lot of insight on that, but the cartoon is where I came to learn about Static Shock and just fall in love with the character. So the cartoon obviously focused on Virgil Hawkins just dealing with hood shit and also trying to be a superhero, which is dope because I connected to that shit. You know, they talked about things like racism, gang violence, bullying in school, a lot of serious subjects, but they did it in a manner where the kids could relate and it wouldn't be something where it would shock the kids watching it or anything like that. It mostly taught you a lesson about all of these things. And I feel like a lot of lessons that they taught in Static Shock shaped me as an individual, like I feel about a lot of fictional things that I read / watch. Well, the Static Shock cartoon was great, won a bunch of awards, got nominated for a bunch of awards. However, it got canceled because it couldn't sell toys. The great killer of amazing cartoons. Toys and merchandise. Like, according to Comic Drake, it was to the point where they weren't even getting licensors to like really make toys for Static Shock. Apparently, they had a Subway run. Subway Kids Meals were selling Static Shock toys, but that was it. That was all the play they were getting. They weren't selling enough merchandise, which sucked because Static was a really cool character. I would have bought a Static action figure as a kid. I feel like I wanted a Static action figure, but I couldn't get one because they weren't selling them. So the show got canceled, unfortunately, but in New 52, Static got a reboot, and that ended up failing too, unfortunately. I didn't read that either. Maybe I should, but I heard it just wasn't that good. But now, Milestone has returned. Like, the name of the first comic they produced is actually Milestone Returns. But Milestone has returned, and with it, they have revamped the story of not only Static, but a bunch of their other original characters. Two of them being Rocket and Icon. If you remember, Rocket and Icon were both in Young Justice. Two really cool characters. I believe Rocket controlled kinetic energy, and Icon was just kind of like Black Superman, but he was an alien. So where the Static Shock cartoon drops his origin story as Virgil being like, you know, a black kid being raised by a single father and his sister and getting into all this gang activity and shit, and that being the reason why he got his powers in the first place, the story for the new Static backstory is a little bit more modern, and I fucks with it a lot. So instead of it starting with Virgil being in school getting bullied by asshole Francis, Hot Streak, he's in a protest that he was invited to by Frida, the same character from the cartoon, his love interest. So Frida invited him to a Black Lives Matter protest because of police brutality happening in their city, in Dakota City, which I found really interesting because I was like, wow, they really went all out with this. This is dead ass how life was last year in 2020. Like, it's how life still is, honestly. So I appreciate them putting Virgil in a realistic setting like this, especially when you think about the subject matter of both the original cartoon and the original comic. So Virgil's in this protest, and within this protest, he sees Francis, and Francis calls him something that at first kind of cringed. I immediately struck me in the heart. I was like, whoa, chill, Francis. But I liked it because once again, it was real and I could actually connect with it because it's something that I was called too. So Francis calls my boy an Oreo. For those who have been called that, y'all know, black on the outside, white on the inside. If you're a black guy who's nerdy or talks properly, you're white on the inside and black on the outside. You're an Oreo. So he called my boy an Oreo. And when he said that, I was like, son, this script is already has me, bro. Already, they were saying things that I feel like were just things that people would say regularly, but Francis calls my boy an Oreo, starts being mad aggressive towards him, starts teasing him and shit, bullying him, and this is where you find out that Virgil has been getting bullied by Francis for years now. So Virgil has had it. He's in a protest, he's done, they're not in school anymore, he tries to fight Francis. This leads to him getting jumped by some of Francis's friends, and then protesters get involved, and it leads to a riot. Once again, all real shit that I feel like could happen in real life, which is why I was connecting with the story so deeply, even though it just started. This leads to the cops throwing fucking tear gas, bro. Tear gas. Why? But they throw tear gas, and this tear gas is laced with a chemical developed by Alva. I'm not sure if Alva was mentioned in the cartoon or the comic. I don't remember it being mentioned in the cartoon, but Alva seems to be some company who's secretly developing some shit for superhuman powers, I guess, because when they throw out this chemical, some people die, some people transform into crazy ass monsters and demons and shit, while others just get random ass superpowers. Some are gang members getting superpowers, some are protesters getting superpowers, but above all, Virgil gets powers from this. After the whole thing, he gets knocked out and then he ends up back at home. Now, once home, this is where we meet his family. And this part is very important to me because Virgil's whole family is here. In the cartoon, Virgil only had his dad and his sister. Virgil's whole family is here. He has a dad, a mom, and his sis. And this is very relevant to me because I feel like in a lot of media, there's always gotta be a problem with the black family, you know? You don't always get the black family that's just happy and chilling and having a great time. You almost always get a family who the father's doing some dumb shit or somebody else is doing some dumb shit. Here, for what you're getting, for what you're having so far, you're getting a nice, wholesome, supportive black family, and I love it. So anyways, Virgil's dad goes to him and is like, damn, see, he was already a green belt. I told you we shouldn't have taken him out of karate, and we should just kept him in there because then he would not be in this mess, which is cool because now we're getting this lore that apparently Virgil knows karate and he can fight. He actually has the hands. Before, I didn't really know how he was able to beat people up. I guess he just like used electricity, yeah, but like he also punched and kicked people. I didn't know where his close combat skills came from, but I like that they're now explaining that he knows a little bit of karate so he could do that. So Virgil is now up dealing with his powers. He now has his electric powers and he's trying to figure out how it works. So as Static is trying to develop his powers, the comic also brings on for the stories of like I said, Rocket and Icon and other people. However, I'm not gonna really get into those guys because I want to focus on Static. They do introduce some racist character. He's a racist Batman who just beats people up because he assumes they're evil. I don't know why. I don't know if he's gonna get his own comic. I hope he does it, but I'm assuming he's gonna be a villain that maybe Static or Rocket or Icon faces in the future. I'm not sure, but this guy is crazy. Anyways, Virgil decides, you know what? I'm gonna go back to school. He goes to Francis. He catches Francis acting out again. So you know what my man does? Mind you, he takes out the cameras before he does it, so it's not that bad. But you know what my man does? My man decides it's a good idea to just electrocute Francis right there. He takes his powers out and just zaps him. I didn't really follow that part because I was just like, whoa, I don't know if you want to display your powers so soon. No, like you just showed everybody you got electric powers. So that when you become Static in the future, everybody's gonna know who you are. But I'm guessing he's not thinking about becoming Static right now. He was just angry. He was working off of anger, which I get. It's just not the first move I would make, but I get him being a 16-year-old kid getting bullied by this guy every day. I understand him wanting to just zap Francis for doing the dumb shit that Francis does. So after this, Francis gets up because he's a bang baby now. He's mad, but he's like, it's cool, I just slipped, whatever, right? Virgil goes back home, he's chilling, he's wondering about what's gonna happen the next day. He comes to school the next day, he finds out that no one even suspects him of being the guy who zapped Francis. Some other guy with dreads is out here saying that he did it, so my man's off the hook. I call bullshit because the way my boy pounced on Francis, you don't just forget how that happened, bro. This scene was crazy. My man jumped up and was like, you gave yourself your own nickname, weak bodied. Like, the color scheme that he had on was dope. And this also brings me to something that I never got into about this comic, and I really should have. The style of all the characters is so on point. Like, Virgil specifically, his static costume looks fire, and his just regular attire is amazing. Like, everything he wears in the comic that he wears to school, I feel like I would wear just on the regular. I feel like I've worn shit that he wears normally. Son, the joggers with the hoodie and the bomber jacket, whoo, the fits, bro. I don't even know how they call my boy a nerd. Like, this man is out here being pretty as shit. And he got the fashion, he got the drip of a drip king. He's the true master of dripology. And I'm happy they gave him that degree in dripology. Speaking of drip, this is the perfect time to give a shout out to my boy, the Black Bob Ross, who has blessed me with the ultimate drip. Like, bruh, he customized Air Force Ones and gave him a static twist. And bruh, the shits are fire. They look amazing. I love it. I need to wear these, but I'm afraid I'm gonna damage them. I don't wanna damage them because, bro, these are so good. Like, I just wanna put them in a glass display. But my bro made this. He even put the little black right here and the Mastadonte right here because he's my boy. But yeah, Black Bob Ross, appreciate you for what you do. You are extremely talented. Check him out, guys. His Instagram is below and his Twitch is also below. He streams, he draws, he's a really, really good artist. Check him out, y'all. But back to Static. After finding out that somebody else took the credit for almost killing Francis, V gets hit up by Richie and Frida. Now, if you don't remember, Richie was Virgil's best friend in the original cartoon. Richie's here. Richie basically looks like an updated version of himself in the cartoon. He doesn't really say much in this section of the story, unfortunately, but he sounds the same as he does in the cartoon, which I like. So Virgil goes back home after talking with his friends and after they make sure he's good, and he's now having dinner with his family. And I like this scene a lot as well because his family's trying to be supportive about what's going on because they want to make sure their kid is okay. However, things get crazy when Francis appears at his crib telling him to come outside or he's gonna burn his house down. Now fam, as I said, I never read the original Static comic. So my introduction to Static Shock was the cartoon. When I tell you I was not ready for it to get this real, it got so real so fast, I didn't think Francis would have come for revenge at this boy's house. But he's the Bang Baby now, so he probably feels like he's God. So Francis is like, yo, bro, fight me, bro. So Virgil's like, I can't not fight him. He's putting my family in danger. So Virgil takes all of his karate knowledge, as well as his just overall knowledge about how electromagnetism works, and starts duking it out with Francis and Son. This is where I saw the artist really go off. These panels were so dope. Like, they felt like they could have been animated. I felt like I was watching an animated scene. Now me remembering it feels like it was animated. Like everything from, like, I remember there was this part where Francis threw this one hook and the way Virgil dodged it was just, son, I know y'all read manga. I know y'all read a bunch of manga before making this comic. Don't act like you didn't. I noticed the poses. That shit was fire. So Virgil and Francis are fighting, and Virgil uses his knowledge of electromagnetism to basically beat Francis. However, what comes from that is Francis getting mad and actually burning this man's house down. So Virgil's house is now burning in front of him. And I'm so happy about this, but I thought they were gonna make it so that his mother died in this scene where, like, Francis just accidentally kills her and whatever. And that's in that a dark path where he becomes like super evil. But thank God Virgil's mom is still alive. Everybody's still alive, but Virgil's just there sitting there as his home is just burned to cinders. And that is the first issue of Static Season 1. I'm sorry, I didn't really split the part where it got into Static Season 1, but the beginning plot was Milestone returns, and then when Static went back to school is when Static Season 1 happened. To fight Francis, I mean. So that's the beginning of Static's new story, and I gotta say, I'm really, really fucking with it. Some people may not like it, but I like that it's sticking with the same energy that the cartoon and the original comic had, where it's talking about subjects that some people don't feel too comfortable talking about, but they need to be spoken about. Like racism, how jank the healthcare system is in poor neighborhoods, gang violence, and all that. The art style is pretty dope. I think Milestone Comics is gonna do some great things with this. I'm happy they have this team up with DC going again. I hope this time it ends up going well. Along with this comic being out is there's also a live action Static Shock movie being developed that Michael B. Jordan is a part of. I'm not sure if he's directing it or producing it or whatever, but he's a part of it. So Static seems to be coming back and I'm happy. However, I am still a little skeptical because I know Static Shock has just been bombing over and over again. And it's like, it's just hit with bad luck every time. It's either something's not working and it has to get canceled, or the reboot was just bad and they just can't continue with it. So I'm hoping this reboot ends up being the best reboot and hopefully the best iteration of Static ever. And I'm hoping this leads to them making a cartoon for him. I think a cartoon would be dope. And I hope this movie they come out with him ends up being amazing and it leads them to making even more movies for him. If not, and this leads to Static just getting shoved into a corner again, so be it. But hey, I wanted to get this video out there to get this comic more attention. I think this comic is fire. I think more people should get into it, and I think it's a worthy read. It's definitely worth the time. I've been sleeping on comics for a while. Reading this comic made me realize how much I've been sleeping on comics, and I'm thinking about reading more comics in the future. After the Shaman King breakdown though, because right now it's very hard to split my attention. Even doing this was a little bit out there, but Static is important to me and I'm gonna talk about my boy Static. But with that being said, end screen. Alright fam, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button. If you want to see more of me, I don't know if I'm going to talk about more Static Shock as the issues come by, but I'm sure that if something crazy happens, I'll definitely be here talking about more Static. So if you want to see more of me, subscribe and hit that bell notification button. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the new Static comic, how you feel about the new designs of the characters, about Francis, about Virgil. I love all of it. My only thing about Virgil is that I feel like I used to look like him a lot, but now I barely look like him. So that's kind of depressing, but his fit is fire. Everything about his fit is fire. I like how his hoodie also has a baseball cap in there, so yeah. Shout out to all my dope ass patrons. Without you guys, I would not be able to make videos like this. And shout out to my Gold Squad patrons, Curtis Clarkson, Dylan Boatner, G Haven Esports Team, and Iron Poet. And if you are not already a patron but want to become one, go to my Patreon page in the description below and find out how you can support the channel for as little as $1 a month. However, if you cannot give your money, it's all good fam. You just being here, watching the video all the way through, that means a lot already, so thank you. But with that being said, I am off this. So, as usual, be easy, stay lit, take care. Black Lives Matter, stay healthy out there. And don't forget, you can do whatever the hell you put your mind to. All it takes is practice and time. Peace out, y'all.